You just start out by you telling a little bit about yourself and your books and kind of how you started writing.
My name's Allison Kennedy. I'm a Northeast Ohio native, so I grew up and have lived around the Cleveland area for most of my life. I am a disabled combat veteran. I served in the
Okay.
U.S. Navy for two full tours and was
Wow.
separated due to an injury I sustained when I was in Iraq, actually.
Oh man.
Yeah, but
Well,
it,
thank
it
you for
kind
your
of,
service.
well,
That's
thank
it.
you.
Definitely, it's an added part to your stories, and like I'm sure you can definitely pull from that the
Oh, yeah.
inspiration and everything. But it's unfortunate you were injured. So,
Yeah, I had a couple spine injuries. Actually, I kind of used all that and turned those lemons into lemonade and started a
okay,
writing career. So, I
that's
took a lot of
good.
that experience and being down and out in pain was a great time to start writing. So,
Yeah. Oh my
I
goodness.
honestly, yeah, wouldn't be here right now with a book if it weren't for that. So, world works in
Wow.
mysterious ways.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little more about that? Like you got back here when and you started writing the book when?
So I got out of the service in 2012.
Okay.
And I went away to college. I was at Ohio State for a couple years, and then I had my first back surgery.
Okay.
And then soon after that happened, actually, I got the idea for this book that I wrote, and dealt with a bunch of other stuff, some PTSD, some
Oh,
anxiety,
sure.
and then another spine injury that I also sustained when I was there kind of flared up a couple years ago. So I
Oh,
ended up having a neck surgery actually. But during that time when I was, basically debilitated for a while, that's when I wrote the chunk of this whole series. So
wow.
yeah.
Oh my goodness. But it's so cool too how like you've triumphed over all this, and this pain and are you still feeling pain? Oh,
Oh, I always feel pain. I've the injuries don't go away. They'll only get worse over time. So, but
uh, I'm sorry about that.
it is what it is. I've learned to kind of, push through it and not let
Well,
that determine my life.
sure. Yeah. Well,
But
that's good. That's
yeah,
good. And
writing has become like a really great form of art therapy for me.
good, good. And have you also kind of brought some of like your experience with that as well? Because I know some other writers who d deal with like intense pain and stuff have, I know there's a few really popular ones out there who talk about it and everything and bring it into their writing. Is that something you've done too, or?
Yeah, so bits and pieces. While I was writing this particular book, the main male character, who is a former Major League Baseball player, he actually sustained an injury that caused him to retire. So
Yep.
I used a little bit of that experience that I was going through and kind of, tortured my character with it.
Yeah.
But it is, yeah, definitely a way to kind of process through that. And I think it's impossible not to put parts of yourself into things. So I use that as my own inspiration in a weird, twisted way.
Oh my goodness. Well, that is really cool though, because I feel like in our world today, you'd think there'd be more books with characters who are, going through living their lives and dealing with this. So it's really cool that you've inserted that into your stories and everything too. Well, can you just tell us a little bit about your book? If you could give us kind of like a little hook, like blurb about it for people who have not read it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And by the way, it's a beautiful cover. I
oh,
love
thank
the
you.
cover. Yeah.
Thank you. I enjoyed designing it, actually. It was a
Oh,
good time. So The Way Home is my debut. It launched last October. It's a romantic suspense story, a little bit heavier on the romance with a side of suspense, I like to say.
okay.
It's a dual point of view, spicy second chance romance set in a small, very gossip-ridden town. It's ideal for people who really love those deep stories and crave that like complexity to their characters and everybody, I want to know more, I want to know more, I want to know more, and that's,
Yeah.
that's really who I wrote this for. This romance, it features, like I said, a former professional athlete, and my main female character is a art collector,
Okay.
who's had a varied past and has dealt with a lot of different things. And it's really her story of how she kind of overcame a lot of things like grief and trauma and loss. But the two of them, come back to their hometown and explode into this incredibly passionate reconnection.
Oh, cool. I love that. Yeah. I'm gonna start reading it. I'm gonna be going on a little vacation here, a little road trip, a real
There you
road trip
go.
to Colorado. So I'm bringing it with me. So you live in Ohio. So you've kind of brought in like your Ohio culture and story, like things that you experience in Ohio into your books.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I actually set the book in Southern Ohio. I don't know how it happened. I just like I don't know if you're familiar with Ohio at all, but
Not really.
there's
No.
a really cute area, and I'm not going to say cute, it's actually beautifully picturesque in
Okay.
southern Ohio called Hocking Hills.
Oh,
It's in Logan, Ohio, down by Ohio University, and it is this just immense forest area with all of these trails and pine forests and rivers and lakes that like run through it. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. And when
oh,
I was writing the book, I instantly like saw this place, like that's where it was taking place. And also like it's a small town.
yep.
I don't live there, but I've spent time there before. So, you have your like townies, but it's also a really big tourist destination. So there's a lot of people through it in and out. But I also use some of the little towns and small town feel around us as inspiration that I actually like have a couple settings. Chagrin Falls, which is very close to me, is this adorable picturesque town that like is
Oh,
based right over top of a waterfall and cute little shops and bars and restaurants. So there's a couple scenes in the book that they're there as well. But I think like as far as culture goes, I definitely added some of that in. It's a very red state.
yep.
We live in the middle of Bible Belt, so
Okay. Yep.
some of those things definitely do play into the characters and the
Cool.
experience
Yep.
and what's going on for sure.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's really cool because I have been asking kind of all the authors that are on this road trip, kind of like how they have like, put their own culture and their own home state into their books and
Yeah.
everything. So that's super cool. And then this is kind of like a love-hate question for many writers, I feel like. Where did you kind of get the inspiration for this book? Like, where did you
Oh,
get the first twinkling of the idea? And you're like, okay, I'm going to write a book for
the
this.
first twinkling came probably about a decade ago, actually.
Okay.
It was soon after I lost a friend of mine in a really tragic car accident, him and his dog. It was
Ugh,
horrible. But it kind of just, I remember like sitting in my house one night and I was watching TV and this just idea just sparked in my head. And it all started with a dog,
okay.
a chocolate Labrador named Floyd.
Aw.
The whole story just kind of unfolded from there. And the characters just came to life in front of me and I started to write it down. And
Okay.
over the years, I'd pick it up every so often and, add a little bit here and there. And like I said, when I went through my last spine surgery, this was in 2023, I had a lot of downtime. And
Okay.
I decided, I was like, you know what? It's time. So I picked it up, started writing it again, and it literally just snowballed out of me. Like, like one of those stories that like I had to get out and it just literally poured out of me. And I have a couple more books that'll follow after this one too that came from that same initial spark of an idea based on a
Oh,
dog.
that's so cool. Oh my gosh. And so the dog is the dog in the book.
He sure is. Yeah,
That's
he's
cool.
he's the female main character. It's her dog, and she talks a lot about how important it is, how important he is to her.
Yep.
That one stable friend that you trust with your life.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. So true. And like spoken like a real pet owner. Do you have pets?
I do. I have two dogs. I had a chocolate Labrador who was my best friend in the
Oh,
entire world. She was 15 years old. I had her till she was 15. But I lost her during the time I was writing this book too. So
oh,
that was, a little bit of that. The book is actually dedicated to her, to my
right.
Molly.
I read the dedication and I was like, I wonder if Molly is a dog.
She
Yes.
sure is. But yeah, I have a 6-year-old golden doodle and
Okay.
a 6-year-old mini Aussie terrier mix.
Oh,
They are something
cute.
else entirely. They're entertaining.
Well, they really do become a part of your family and a part
Oh
of
yeah.
your heart. And you just, yeah, they just really do become a part of your family. And like you were saying, kind of become your everything a little bit, where they just have that unconditional love. Like, you know, you hate to think that, as people, we can, sometimes love is a little bit conditional. And it's sad when it's like that. But, animals, when it comes to them, they're just like, you feed me, you love me, I'm here. I'm
Yeah.
your friend.
And Floyd in the book too, like the main character Leah, she goes through some anxiety. I mean, she definitely deals with a lot of hard stuff, and the dog is always there for her. Like the second her breathing gets heavy or she gets tense, he's there. He appears. Like, are
Wow.
you okay, mom? I got you.
That's so cute. Oh my gosh. Yeah, because I saw a video of this one girl who she was like that, and would start having like panic attacks that were just debilitating. And the dog would come over and just be like, "You're okay. I'm here." And get on her lap and be like, "You're okay."
Like
And
I
it's
got
it's
you.
crazy how animals can really help with things like that.
Absolutely.
Well, when it comes to Ohio, are there some great places that you recommend people checking out? I'm guessing Hocking Hills is probably one of them.
Yeah, if you're an outdoors person and you like to hike and camp and like anything outdoorsy, it is a absolutely beautiful place. There's some hiking trails that have these caves that you can go in and out of. It's just a really really beautiful place. And that's only about an hour south of Columbus, which
Okay.
is a great metropolis. There's so much stuff in downtown Columbus, good restaurants, good bars. The university's there, so a lot of different cultural areas. But I most of my time is spent like in the Cleveland area. I grew up here.
Okay.
We're literally like right on Lake Erie. It's beautiful up here. It really is. We have the
Oh,
most amazing summers. Our winters can kind of get a little intense and very, very snowy.
yeah.
But for the most part, it's really cool up here. It's become a lot more trendy. And if you haven't been to Cleveland, I highly recommend you come and visit.
Okay. Cool. Awesome. And are you a coffee or tea person?
Coffee for life.
Awesome. So do you have any recommendations of good shops in the
Yeah,
area?
there's a couple of really good ones in downtown Cleveland. Rising Star is one of the like independently owned. They have a couple different shops around the area that are really good. There's a couple bookstores. Index
Nice.
Cleveland, in particular, in Ohio City, has a really great little coffee shop in it. It's a really cool, like chill vibe. I make most of my coffee at home, but I am
Yeah.
always ready for an iced coffee to try somewhere or
Oh,
something.
yes. Yes, I am right there with you. That's awesome. Cool. Okay. And then, so when it comes to writing, what shows up first? Is it a character or plot? Like when you're starting a new project?
A little bit of both, I think. You get like that inspiration for a story, and generally, for me at least, if it's something worth writing down, I have a picture of a character, or I have an idea of some kind of trait of the character, and that really like pushes forward that idea.
Yep.
But sometimes it's the most random things. Like out of nowhere, you'll be like, "Oh, that would be a really interesting thing to write about," and then it just kind of unfolds. And
Yeah.
I have like on my phone, I keep my notes app and my notes app open all the time, and I've just got pages and pages of ideas for different works in progress.
I
And there's a
love
couple
that.
that I've been playing around with that like slowly are just getting more and more developed. So, but I
No.
like right now I'm working on book 2 of the series, or working on finishing book 2 of the
Okay.
series. So that's been a fun wild ride.
Oh, cool. So about how many words in are you right now with it?
So it's almost done. I'd say it's about
Okay.
98% complete. I'm
Okay.
finishing off a couple little details and polishing off a couple things before I get it off to my editor in
Okay.
August. So I kind of on a little bit of a deadline. But
Hey, oh my goodness.
when I wrote the first book, I actually wrote the majority of the second book at the same time, because I had
Oh.
to, like, when I published book one, I had to pick a stop point. You can't
Yeah.
just like have a 300,000 word book, because that nobody would want to read that, and that's way too much. So I had to kind of pick and cut, and then I've
Yeah.
been working on finalizing this book for my editor, and then there will
Okay.
be at least 3, potentially 4 books before I can finish the full story.
Okay, that's exciting. Oh my gosh. So, and you have it called The Hearts of Holt Saga.
Uh huh.
Awesome. So, is there a story behind kind of like the name of the series title?
So
Oh.
it's this is kind of funny actually. So Holt is the fictional town that I created that is basically Hocking Hills. I don't know if
Okay.
you've ever watched Arrested Development. Have you ever
I
seen that show?
have. Yes.
Hey, Steve Holt. That's and I don't know why. Like again, it's these random little things that like just inspire you to. And I'm like, that'd be a good name for a town.
That
And
would be.
so
Oh
yeah, it's
my
Holt, and
gosh.
actually the main female character, she is part of the Holt family that actually originally like settled the area. So it
Oh.
it, it plays into that. But it's the Hearts of Holt. You're going to learn a lot about all these characters throughout the series. So
Ah, I love
yeah.
that. Oh my gosh. And so since you kind of created your own town and everything, like, throughout fiction and movies, there's so many of these little fictional towns that people just love,
Mhm.
Gilmore Girls, and like all these other places. And so what are some things that you found really helped you kind of develop this little town? And I know that you said it's kind of Hocking Hills, but
So I think a lot of it came like from a visual perspective. The setting is very Hocking Hillsy, but so where I live in Northeast Ohio, I'm like a half an hour outside downtown Cleveland, and
okay.
we have a lot of really little like rural towns. You could call them suburbs, but out where we are, everybody's got a little bit of land, and the towns themselves are pretty small. And not quite everybody knows everybody, but that kind of vibe. I was like, it has to be that kind of a town. Like it just made
Right.
sense when I wrote the story. But I think, even where we live, we're a little disconnected from a lot of other stuff, but like our little towns are cute and adorable. And like our little town square has, the gazebo in the center and the little shops and bars and the courthouse. Like it's just very quintessential small
Yeah.
town feeling. And it just fit really well into the storyline when I was writing it. And I think, that like gossip ridden, like everybody knows everything kind of thing is really intriguing to read in fiction. For
Uh-huh.
me, at least, like I love it. I want to hear
Yeah.
all the gossip and all the
Oh,
drama.
totally. Yeah. Yeah.
So it played really well into that, I think.
Oh, I love that. That is so funny. And
Mhm.
too, like kind of the small towns, there is some of that gossip and stuff and everything, Like small towns are great, but they can also have a little bit of that gossip.
Yeah, and if people know who you are, people are going to have all kinds of opinions,
Yeah,
and you can't always avoid that. And whether they're right or wrong, that plays into the book too. People
right.
having these misconceptions of someone, and it's not really who they are at all.
And so your two main characters in the book, if they were to go on a road trip, where would they go?
To get away from home, I think they'd go to like a beach vacation, just
Okay.
a chance to be out in the sun, not have to work,
Yep.
enjoy some time in the water.
East
Not
Coast
really.
or West Coast?
East Coast because the
Okay.
water's warmer.
Yes, yes, the water is much warmer.
Like in the
Perfect.
book, they actually do go like down to Mexico on a little vacation with their friends. A little minor.
Cool.
You don't
Yep.
get a whole lot about it, but it happens.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I love that. And then what treats or snacks or drinks would they bring with them? Because every
Definitely
road trip
some
needs that.
definitely some peanut butter cups because you can't go anywhere with that.
Yeah.
Without that. Beef jerky, maybe some popcorn, some
Awesome.
Cracker Jacks. The guy got to play the baseball thing in there a little
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
bit.
Love that. And then, so if you were to go on a road trip, which book would you bring with you? Any
Any
book.
book?
It can be a book that you really loved. It can be a book that you've read multiple times. It can
So
be
that's
something.
tricky because I'm a Kindle girl. I carry
Okay.
my Kindle because like I used to travel a lot. I mean, especially like being in the military, we used to jump around a lot. So part of the reason I started using a Kindle is because I would try to carry like 5, 6 books with me everywhere I went, and that gets really heavy
It
really fast.
does. Yeah.
So I love that I have the ability to carry around my Kindle with hundreds and hundreds of books on it at any
Right.
time. But I think I would, if I wasn't reading something new, probably dive into like one of my comfort reads.
Okay.
Like the Throne of Glass series is one of the ones that I go back
Cool.
to, over and over again.
Yep.
Because I love the characters and the whole vibe. I don't know if you've read the Windy City series by Liz Tomford.
I haven't. No.
So she does like kind of like sports romances, and one of them is it's called Caught Up, and the two main characters, one's like a single dad, and she's the
Okay.
nanny, but the coach's daughter, and they just have like a really cool vibe. And she's like a pastry chef. So if I were to take like a comfort read, probably one of those.
Okay. That's very cool. I'll have to check out I've heard of the first one, but I
Yeah,
hadn't heard of the second one. So I'll have to check
yeah,
that
they're
out.
really good.
I just love meeting all these different writers. Like I feel like we could totally click. Like I love chatting with you.
How'd you get the idea to do this? Just
It was just in the middle of the night one night. I woke up and like all of a sudden I'm like, road trip.
see, that's how book ideas come.
Yeah. No, really, honestly. And the thing is, like, I struggle, like, I can just walk outside and I can get like a bunch of different story ideas. So I was laughing when you were mentioning your notes app because
Mhm.
my notes app is the same. It's just like tons of story ideas and everything. And it's just it's great, but it's funny because sometimes I mention to my husband, like, oh, I got this new story idea. And my husband's like, oh my goodness, you need to write these, like
Yeah, like
instead of just getting the new
where is this
ideas.
coming from? Put it down.
Yes, exactly. It's just insane. So, but yeah, so I have been enjoying this chat and everything. So it's
Awesome.
been super fun getting to know people from every state and kind of like writing different things and showing the different states and the different books and authors. And it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. Are you gonna do like a blog kind of
Yep.
post? Are you gonna do
Yeah.
like YouTube? Where are you planning on putting everything?
Yes, so I'm putting the videos on YouTube and I'll be linking them to the blog. But each week I'm doing a different state. And so then I'll be publishing different content on like Instagram, Facebook, with like featuring you guys and stuff and like maybe some pull quotes from our interview and some little fun things up from your state and everything.
That's
And then
awesome.
I'm going to be publishing a blog post, which is going to be like the guide post.
I
And
think people will love that because there's like all kinds of reading challenges where people like pick a book from every state, you know?
right, that would be so cool. Yeah. So right now, focusing on the Midwest in the summertime. And then
Mhm.
after that, we'll be going to the South, I think. And
Okay.
so it's gonna kind of like go throughout all the seasons and everything. But it's pretty big. But like I think I
Fantastic.
counted right before our interview, and I think I've got like 50 some authors so far.
That's awesome. That's
And
incredible.
yeah, so it'll keep getting bigger and bigger, but yeah, I'm super excited about it. So yeah.
Nice. Very cool.
Yeah. And you said so you're working on the second book. Besides that, like besides this series that you have, are you like planning the next series?
So yes and no. Yes, but no. So I have an idea for a fantasy series that I've been playing
Ah,
around with for a really long time. 'Cause I'm a really big
yes.
fantasy reader too.
Oh yeah, me
Know,
too.
who doesn't love a good fantasy story?
I know, right?
But that's something I've been kind of playing around. The book that I should be writing, everybody keeps telling me. I had a really, unique experience in the service as a female. I was in the Navy. I volunteered to go to Iraq. I was blown up while I was there. So there's a lot of different experiences that I've been through that
Mhm.
people really want to hear that story. And interestingly, until I wrote this book and published the first one, I wasn't ready to do that. And I think this all like kind of gave me the confidence to, it's time. So that's one I probably should, sit down and actually
And
work
that's
at.
the fantasy one.
No, that's my story. Like
Oh,
the
your story. Okay.
kind of not quite like an autobiography, more memoir. I haven't decided how I want to write that yet, but
Right.
that's one that I think people really do want to read.
Oh,
And I have
totally.
a potential to reach like a really, really huge amount of people with that.
Yeah.
But then I have the fantasy idea that I've been playing around with. I have another kind of small town romance vibe set around like a firehouse, which I thought would be kind of
Ooh.
cool. Like, some firefighters. Who doesn't love
Yeah.
a firefighter?
Everyone loves that, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I got a couple different ideas, but I think like once I'm done with this series, I'm gonna just keep writing and writing and writing and writing and probably
Right.
won't stop.
Awesome. Well, I'm definitely along for the journey. So I'm super, super happy to have you on this road trip. And it's going to be so much fun following you along and getting to know you more and reading your work. You share where people can find you and your book.
Yeah, so I'm available. I got everything up on my website. It's theallisonkennedy.com. I'm also quite active on Instagram, also at the Allison Kennedy. I have a Facebook page, Kennedy Books, if I can talk properly.
Yep.
Um, but all my books are and all my links are available on my website, and my link tree is also up on my Instagram that takes you to all types of different stuff. But my book can be found on Amazon. I'm also at Barnes and Noble online, and I have it in a few local bookstores in the Cleveland area.
Awesome. Well, I
All right.
really enjoyed chatting with you today,
Thank you.
Allison. So
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, most definitely. You have a great rest of your day, and I'll talk to you later.
All right, sounds good. Thank
Yep.
you.
See you. Bye. Thanks for riding shotgun on the Romance Reading Road Trip. I'm so excited that you're here, and I can't wait for you to see everything else that we have in store. Be sure to hop down below into the description and sign up to get your passport. You aren't going to want to miss it. See you later.